This panel, moderated by Anna Ilić, Director of Good Governance and Projects at NALED, will discuss how smart city initiatives can drive the green transition, highlighting sustainable urban development strategies.
It is great pleasure and privilege for NALED and for myself to be institutional partners in the organization of the ESG Adria Summit, and specifically to host this panel related to the green transition and smart cities. NALED is a Serbian association of private-public association having 350 members, representatives of the businesses, so private sector, civil sector, and local self-governments. Around 120 local self-governments are our members. And we work towards improving the business environment in Serbia, competitiveness, and economic development. I might say, given our membership structure, plus all the partners that we work with, partnership from international community, partners from academia, that we are a dialogue in its finest as the organization, that we work together through dialogue to produce solutions and proposal of policies and reforms that would advance our society and economic development further, specifically now lately focusing on the sustainable development and smart cities, innovations, digitalization, all those policies that are now becoming more and more important. Objective of this panel specifically is to focus now on the perspective of the cities, to see how cities in the Western Balkans are ready and how they are responding to the policies that are ever evolving on the level of the EU and globally, meaning all the requirements and bars that are being raised in terms of sustainability, of green transitioning, of digitalization, innovation. So bars are being raised. So what does the local level do in the Western Balkans typically? What are the main challenges? What are the main responses? What should be the main responses? We will hear from our panelists. First, I would like to pose a question to Mr. Željko Komnenović relating to the balancing of this environmental protection and sustainability and economic growth in the city of Tivat. As the city grows, how do you manage and how do you balance all the objectives related to faster economic growth and the need to take care and implement the sustainability environmental policies?
Čitava priča oko održivog razvoja je usko povezana sa upravljanjem prostorom. Ono što je veoma bitno oko Tivata jeste da Tivat kao jedna od manjih opština u Crnoj Gori sa svega 46 kvadratnih kilometara ima čak 70% zelenih površina. Sa svoja 4 zaštićena područja, to je veliki gradski park, rezervat Solila, Vrmac, mi imamo, da kažemo, jednu situaciju gde je 16% teritorije u zoni morskog dobra, što znači da njime ne upravlja direktno gradska uprava. Tu su izazovi infrastrukture, pre svega urbane mobilnosti na kojima radimo. Međutim, ono što je bitno, to je ključ koji čitavog razvoja i čitavog ovog pitanja jeste u tome kako upravljati prostorom. Upravljanje prostorom mora da se obezbedi kroz potpunu reformu, prije svega čitavog tog sistema načina upravljanja prostorom. Tu prije svega mislim na vraćanje ingerencija opštinama, na upravljanje prostorom kroz novi zakon o morskom dobru. Ono što je veoma bitno jeste da Tivatu definitivno trebaju kao gradu koji isključivo živi od turizma, kao jedna od, da kažemo, najboljih i turističkih destinacija u Crnoj Gori, jesu moderne tehnologije, ali tih modernih tehnologija, kao što smo u prethodnom panelu vidjeli, nema bez rešavanja osnovnih sistemskih infrastrukturnih problema. Na tome zaista vrijedno radimo i posebno u pogledu urbane mobilnosti i obezbeđenja saobraćajne infrastrukture, ali i svake druge. To je, dakle, ključ u svemu. Prvo, način upravljanja prostorom, pa onda rešavanje svih drugih problema.
Going then to Mr. Vladislav Cvetković, as a head of managing board of NALED, that gathers as members, I mentioned, local self-governments and actually implements a program of certification of business-friendly cities and towns in the Western Balkan region. Some around 100 cities have already been through this process. What would you say is the level of readiness of the cities to go forward, this certification is good governance, economic governance, gives the basis governance standard at the local level. But then going forward to understanding and implementing smart solutions, green solutions, digitalization, what is the state of play in the cities throughout the region?
Thanks, Anna, and thanks for the introduction. I think it was very inspiring to hear Professor Coleman's opening speech about the smart cities, and I think this gave us a lot of insights into where we are all living, what kind of sort of issues we are facing, and obviously me coming also from the perspective of NALED, and the fact that NALED has really far-sightedly put together a facility for exchanging information about the problems we are all sort of facing. This is really a fantastic platform, and I'm very keen to be able to really share this knowledge agenda. Otherwise, I come from PwC, and we are basically an organization which is very much working on smart cities and digitalization worldwide. Some of the examples that have been mentioned a couple of minutes earlier, my colleagues are now working in the Middle East on cognitive cities, which is like a little bit above the smart cities. So we are living in a very dynamic world. So how does it sort of reflect on our sort of environment here in the Western Balkans, in Serbia? NALED has started from Serbia, but now it's very actively working on the agenda of core partnership, which is basically a fantastic opportunity to reunite us over the topics which we somehow, during the old times and dissolution of Yugoslavia, we were all together working as a sort of one country, but basically we somehow forgot how to work together after the dissolution of Yugoslavia. So I think this is a very, very valuable platform. And apart from NALED's initiatives, which absolutely proved to be of immeasurable value for measuring and seeing how local communities and cities can really improve the business environment, and how this can be transcribed into a dialogue facility for all of us. This is, I think, a fantastic opportunity. And this is one thing which I'm sure everybody will really see the benefits in the future. Also, being that we are now all aspiring to either become the member of the EU or are already member of the EU, I think this is also a privilege and very positive context. This EU context gives us a guidance because, as heard, and the ESG topic is probably one of the most prominent topics to demonstrate how this continent, European, sort of the whole region of Europe, is one of the most aspirational continent in solving the important issues and the problems we are dealing with. So innovation and sustainability. This is a good guiding point. So I think the possibility to work together on these topics from various sort of perspectives of all of us together here, from each of our perspectives, it's fantastic. So then I'll come now a little bit about what we do and my professional work. Every city or every sort of solution that needs to be in place if you want to, and probably Tivat is a good example also to discuss, whatever projects you would like to take, transportation, urban mobility, other projects, it is project management. You need to have the team, you need to have the organization, and you need to somehow put the resources together in order to drive this agenda. So I would say this is again, NALED has been really very operational in solving and helping and meeting, providing a meeting point for the exchange of this information. So this is really a good example of how we can work together. And I would say again that in this sort of, to answer your question, I would say that we do have the talent, we do have different experiences, we need to speak, we need to exchange, and I think everything that we are doing through these facilities and this conference probably is a good example of us exchanging all these ideas, is a fantastic way forward for our region, for Western Balkans, and for EU and non-EU member countries. So the only thing maybe just to mention is to somehow, and to use the term sustainability, which is the term we are very frequently using these days, to provide for sustainable governance, because political cycles sometimes, are shorter than the cycles needed for the production of effective sort of results on some of the projects for the smart cities. This is something which we need to work, and that's the reason why the continuity and dialogue is very important.
Thank you. Turning now to Anna, to academia. During your scientific career, you have done research on performances of the Croatian cities with regards to the smart solutions and the introduction of measures, smart city measures. So can you share with us some findings? What are the determinants of the smart governance? And interesting, does the actual size of the city affect the smart governance performance? Is the performance in introducing solution related in any way to the sizes of the cities?
No. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Anna, and congratulations for you and your team on excellent organization. Before 7 or 8 years ago, I heard, or actually I read somewhere that I live in smart city Rijeka. It's inspired me to start research about smart cities. In the end, I wrote a doctoral dissertation about smart cities. Yes. To find out how we are smart, I decided to create a comprehensive model to compare all 127 Croatian cities. That model includes indicators from International Standardization Organization and other relevant and related indicators from other scientific findings. There was 38 indicators for all 6 dimensions of smart city: smart economy, smart government, smart environment, smart citizens, smart living, and smart mobility. The results show that I really live in a smart city. Actually, the Dubrovnik and Rijeka is the smartest city in Croatia. Yes, smartest city in Croatia. It's 0.01 between that 2 cities. The index, I created index. Actually, I use completely different statistical econometrics methods to measure all these indicators, index, and very, very similar results, about 70%, the same for each city. You asked me for smart governments. I think it's the most important dimension, and it's the dimension which is related to all other dimensions. And the research showed that the size of the city has no directly influence on the smartness of the city. Each government can work and focus it on the first place, digitalization of public services. On the second place, create application for multiple sectors. Example, in Rijeka we have smart city eye. If I see some damage in the city, I can take a photo and send to the utility companies. We can send a request utility companies. And it's work for now. Example, we have application Rijeka Bus. It's application for public transport. In real time, you can see where is your bus in real time. It is Eventusha. It's application about past, current, and future events. So you can, in region, so you can plan where you go out if you want, and many, many, many others application in the city. Third, but no less important, is communication, actually interaction with citizens and entrepreneurs. It's very, very important. It is popular bottom-up approach. In Rijeka, we have a council of citizens, and they are involving in decision-making process in the city. They are involving in creating budget, and they can monitoring the work of public authorities.
Thank you, Anna. You gave us a flavor, but we hope there will be opportunity to exchange more deeper on the practices and some good practices that you had with the cities of the Western Balkans. Coming back to Mr. Komnenović, how important is involvement of community and engagement of community in developing and implementing the urban innovation and development policies? What is your practice and how in Tivat you are actually ensuring the buy-in from the local communities and their engagement in policy making?
Jasno je da bez aktivne uloge lokalnih zajednica, prije svega u opštinama, to su mjesne zajednice, odnosno to je sam, da kažemo, srž, najglavniji nivo praktično odlučivanja u lokalnim upravama su građani. Lokalne uprave su servisi građana. Taj kontakt mi ostvarimo preko mjesnih zajednica koje, evo, da kažemo, u zadnjih 3-4 godine maksimalno jačamo. Međutim, ono što je bitno jeste sljedeće. Ključne riječi za temu kojom se danas bavimo, to su prije svega održivost i kontinuitet. A toga nema bez sistemskih rješenja. Sistemsko rješenje mora biti održivo rješenje, a ova, da kažemo, koliko god se trudili da uvedemo, da kažemo, ove urbane inovacije, one moraju da budu prije svega nadgradnja sistema koji moramo da primijenimo. Ono što je bitno za razumijevanje je sljedeće. Znači, Tivat je u zadnjih 15 godina doživio radikalnu transformaciju od jednog malog industrijskog mjesta do elitne turističke destinacije u koju u zadnje vrijeme imamo veliko interesovanje za migracije, za doseljivanje. Da kažemo, Tivat je od nekog grada koji je imao oko 5, 6, 8 hiljada stanovnika 80. godina, došao do nivoa gdje po zadnjem popisu imamo oko 16,5 hiljada stanovnika i približno isti broj stambenih jedinica. Znači da jednostavno interesovanje za doseljivanje grada koji je po pokazateljima onoga što pišu čak i neki evropski portali, jedno od najprimamljivijih evropskih malih gradova za život, ta priča ne prati infrastrukturu. Znači ono što infrastruktura ne prati tu priču. I moramo, dakle, da odgovorimo izazovima infrastrukture da bi došli do te nadogradnje i održivosti o kojoj mi pričamo i koju, naravno, priželjkujemo. Tivitu trebaju definitivno moderna rješenja za 21. vijek, koja su u skladu sa održivim razvojem. Ono što vam ja moram reći, upravo preko ovih evropskih fondova, mi smo na tragu toga. Već smo na osnovu naše studije koju smo za, da kažemo, javni gradski i prigradski prevoz putnika, na osnovu nje smo izvršili i preko evropskih fondova nabavku autobusa na električni pogon koji će, ja mislim, veoma brzo, skoro par mjeseci već saobraćati ulicama Tivta. Radimo također na kontaktima za uspostavljanje nekog saobraćaja koji je, recimo, kada govorimo o toj urbanoj mobilnosti, zaboravljen, a imali smo ga u Boki Kotorskoj, to je unutrašnja plovidba, na kraju krajeva zalivi, kao što smo svjedoci. Vlada Crne Gore u saradnji s opštinom značajne napore ulaže, posebno zadnjih mjeseci, na izgradnji pristupnih saobraćajnica. Ali mislimo da je jedno od tih održivih rješenja, već se radi na tome, nekim, da kažemo, privatnim inicijativama, uvođenje linijskog prevoza brodskog kroz Boku. Ja vam moram reći, podijeliti sa vama da već najvjerojatnije ovoga ljeta će da krene jedna od tih linija kroz Boku električnim plovilima, što je, da kažemo, jedna uvezena tehnologija iz Finske. Znači, preko aplikacije rezervišete brod, operator u svakom trenutku zna koliko ima putnika i jednostavno na taj način, na mnogo ljepši, brži i efikasniji način možete da se obraćate i na taj način izbjegnete i sve te saobraćajne gužve, parkiranje i sve te glavobolje koje prate život današnjice u Boki. Ja vam također moram reći da ono što je bitno za mali grad kao što je Tivata, koji živi od turizma, vraćajući se opet na ovu studiju javnog gradskog i prigradskog prevoza putnika, jeste da je ta studija pokazala neke podatke koji će nama biti smjernica za ono čime se ovih dana bavimo, a to je donošenje strateškog plana za razvoj opštine u narednih 6 godina. Jedna od tih, možda i ključna analiza je pokazala da 93% stanovnika je nezadovoljno javnim gradskim prevozom, a preko 90% bi bilo veoma zadovoljno i koristilo bi jedino tu vrstu prevoza ukoliko bi ono bilo na određenom nivou, što je nama apsolutno nešto, da kažemo, neka smjernica od koje ćemo krenuti i već sada smo uočili neke linije koje se trebaju uspostaviti. Međutim, nije to baš sasvim ni lako, prvo zbog toga što moramo biti svi svjedoci nedostatka prije svega onoga što se zove radna snaga, ne samo kod nas, nego vidimo i u ostalim evropskim zemljama. Ja, kada bih vam rekao da vozač autobusa trenutno je jedna od najtraženijih ili vozača uopšte profesija, i to je jedna, da kažemo, činjenica sa kojom se moramo svi zajedno suočiti, a ona je opet od presudni faktor kako uspostaviti javni gradski prevoz. Znači, to su neka rješenja koja moramo tražiti, ali na sistemski i održiv način. Opet smatram da na tome ne mogu raditi samo jedino lokalne uprave. To se mora raditi na većem nivou i upravo ove prilike su jedinstvene i veoma upotrebljive i veoma korisne i prije svega iskustva NALED-a koji vi predstavljate, a na kraju krajeva i ovog ESG Summita u Tivitu, dajeće nam neke smjernice kako to na održiv način i upravo da uspostavimo i kako ta iskustva da iskoristimo. Jer zaludo, ako pričamo o tim praksama na teoretskom nivou, ako ih u praksi ne upotrebimo, da su ona održiva i primjenjiva na naš način života, onda ona ostaju samo kao dio literature i nekih, da kažemo, akademskih rasprava. Dakle, ono što treba jeste pravljenje, da kažemo, gradova po mjeri građanina. Jer često i ovi saobraćajci kažu, što je meni neobično simpatična rečenica, da smo mi napravili gradove po mjeri automobila, za potrebe automobila, a ne za građanina. Znači, moramo praviti konačno gradove za potrebe građana, ne automobila.
Thank you very much. Very insightful and actually hopeful and encouraging, I would say, to see that cities in the region are very well aware and recognizing what are the trends, what are the objectives, implementing already some measures like electric cars that you mentioned in transport sector or greening parks, etc. So what I can see is that the biggest problems actually are the capacity, technical capacities and infrastructure, lack of infrastructure. This comes out often to be the biggest constraints to really advance more faster, let's say, towards the smart cities. So then I will come back to Mr. Cvetković now and maybe link this smart cities discussion with the topic of the whole conference, ESGs. You have completed an extensive study recently that has assessed the supply chain in the area of agriculture, of crop production, to see where in that supply chain are the critical, in terms of the ESG implementation, where are the critical points, where are specifically focusing on carbon emissions, CO2 emissions. Can you give us some key flavor maybe of some findings that you got, and how are studies like this useful to the local authorities in planning what they do? How can they support local companies to understand ESGs, to implement ESGs?
Sure, thanks, Anna. But maybe before I come to this topic, because this is really interesting findings that we come across, to just comment what Mr. Mayor, Mr. Komnenović just mentioned, and I think it's very important in the context of your question also. Infrastructure is very important, and I think we in PwC have done extensive research on how infrastructure actually, an investment in infrastructure contributes to the overall sort of economic growth, and this is really very directly related to the economic growth. So every euro spent in infrastructure returns 5 or even more euros in contribution to the growth of GDP. So when it comes to, for example, Tivat, and maybe Rijeka will have some of its examples, you are now basically becoming a very, very prominent destination, not only for the new citizens, but also for the tourists. And this is all evolving from the fact that you have the airport, obviously, and that the infrastructure otherwise is still not there, so that there is other communication. So this is really driving your growth. And this is exactly the reason why infrastructure is driving also and of course now you have the digital solutions and improvement in technology which can contribute to the quality of life, which again is the bottom line for everything, the quality of life of citizens and whoever comes as a guest to this lovely city. So I think this is important. Mentioning in the context of smart cities and ESG, of course, the cities are growing bigger and bigger, contributing more to the overall economic development, as mentioned by Professor also. But I think in this ecosystem, we have started also evaluating some other aspects of ESG, and this is now coming back to the study that you mentioned. And this is the analysis of the carbon footprint on the agri sector, which is sort of in the background of the cities, so to speak, and coming from the fact that there is a considerable effects that can be analyzed and for the guidances on how this can be improved. To start from European Green Deal, obviously it's a vision for Europe to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And one important part of this is basically the farm to fork strategy. So basically it means how the whole life cycle of supply from agriculture, which obviously is important as a starting point of economy, how it is reflecting the carbon emissions. So if you look at this, we have done basically the first study of that kind, analyzing a lot of information and this is a NALED study based on input from its members from the agricultural sector. Agriculture obviously is a main sort of contributor to the GDP in our countries also. In Serbia, half of the territory is agricultural territory, comparing it to the 7% of contribution to the GDP. And obviously it's a very, Serbia now practically has very unique opportunity to develop and implement this ESG strategy in the agri sector. And the first findings actually, when you break down the whole value chain of farm to fork, is basically that you have farm and production of a basic commodities starting from arable land. Then you have obviously the warehousing and transportation. Then you have retail. So when you break it down, two-thirds of the GHG emissions, which are basically contributing to these roughly 6 million tons of CO2 emissions on the level of agriculture, is basically from the arable land production. So we now have a very solid data to start working with our partners and this is actually what NALED does best, to start working with the partners to improve the visibility of the topic and to somehow try to raise the awareness of how this can be amended, how this can be changed, and to go towards the evidence-based policy into the regenerative agriculture, which is definitely going to show over a couple of next years, if we put some efforts into that, some visible results in cutting the GHG emissions in the agri sector. So I think this topic is very, very sort of relevant. We will probably share a little bit more details about the study once we start sort of drawing traction about the topic with major players. But I think, thank you for asking this, because I think this is really, really relevant, and we will be working on this in the future, and with some really aspirational hopes that agriculture as a significant contributor to GHG can really be contributing to reducing and getting us to the net zero effect in agriculture, which obviously was not really easy task based on how we did the things in the past.
And it actually shows that, given that majority of CO2 emissions comes at the farm, that there is a lot of room for the cities to take active role in promoting the ESGs, in helping raising awareness on how to shift to those sustainable policies for the local businesses. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anna, a question for you. What are the benefits, or better yet, does it help, and in what way, being a EU member state when it comes to becoming a smart city? So what is the difference between Rijeka and Tivat?
Oh, I think for the infrastructure is not a big difference, because I heard you have same problems like our touristic cities, same problem. I talk about that a little later. The membership of Croatia in the European Union is very important for development, especially local communities. Over 70% all public investments comes from EU funds. All 70% of local public investments comes from EU funds. So go on. According to the ministry report of Ministry of Finance, in the period of 9 years, from 2014 to 2022, the Croatian cities used 900 million euro from EU funds. Last year, about €1 billion EU funds. And in the current period, Croatia jumped from 14th to the 9th place when it comes from applying to the EU funds. It's very, very impressive, and we are actually increase our investments. Why is so good? The most successful is always the biggest city, Rijeka, Zadar, Slavonski Brod, and so on. But when it comes using EU funds per capita, the most successful is the smallest city in Croatia, it's Komiža. And that's the point, that all cities can use and write some project to get money from EU funds. That's the point. We have several green projects in Rijeka. You asked me, Anna, for green projects, actually. We have a lot of projects, but green is an example. Urban STEAM, it's a project, the aim of that project is make familiar European policies to high school students. They learn how they can monitoring water, how they can monitoring air, how they can improve public transport, and another similar urban STEAM. Urban STEAM project is all activities in the garden. That is between teachers and children's. We learned and educated a lot of years ago all population, especially when it's protection of environment. But now we goes to the school students and in the kindergartens also. One excellent project, actually Urban Act. With that project, we tried to change mindset of medium-size and small entrepreneurs in services sectors, how they can go to the circular economy. We have some activities, practice, we have some workshops, and we have some KPI, and go by that KPI with that population.
Thank you, Anna. I'm looking. They're waving us that I think 10 minutes ago that we have 5 minutes. So I'm so sorry that we will not have time for another round of questions. I don't see that we have any questions from the audience. No. So in that case, since we are already over the time, I would like to thank you all very much for very interesting and insightful thoughts that you shared today, and we continue discussing.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Thank you.